What's going on, guys? How y'all doing tonight? Danny Parker here. Welcome to exclusive WWE Smackdown live review results reaction for Smackdown Live for 2021. Tonight's WWE Smackdown on Fox opened with a video package looking at how Daniel Bryan defeated Jey Uso at a steel cage main event last week to earn a Fastlane title match against WWE Champion Roman Reigns. We go live to the Thunderdome, Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, as Michael Cole welcomes us to the road to WrestleMania 37. He joins at ringside by Corey Graves. We go right to the ring, and out comes WWE Hall of Famer Edge to a big pop. Edge steps in on the ramp and gets his big pyro as Greg Hamilton does the introduction. Cole hypes up Edge versus either Daniel Bryan or Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. WWE Universal title match at WrestleMania 37. Graves hypes up the Fastlane main event between Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. Edge says that he's there. Edge says there will be a big contract signing tonight for the Fastlane, but there is some big things that he needs to address, like the other people who have had his name falling out of their faces recent weeks. He brings up Roman Reigns. He says how Reigns said a guy like Edge didn't face a guy like how Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman are great spine doctors. Edge goes on and says that he's a chapter of his table. He goes on about how Roman Reigns got played when it came to Bryan. Edge addressed how Bryan now. Edge recalls how Bryan said that last week he deserves to be the main event. Need to be the main event more than he does. Edge recalls Bryan last week. He deserves to be in the main event WrestleMania. Edge get more than Edge because he loves this and wrestle more than Edge in recent months. Edge said that it's time to remind Bryan and Reigns to see their fan base. That's who he is, because he says that he's willing to double shots, and while superstars and WWE Hall of Famers like The Undertaker, John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Eddie Guerrero, Mr. Perfect, and the British Bulldog, Terry Funk, and all over a time frame before 4 decades. Ed said he's back here not because to be because he loves it. He mentions how he has waited to find his opponent at the Fastlane. Then the music erupts. Out comes Bryan to a huge pop. Guest chant. Edge talks about Reigns getting sucked in, and it looks like Edge got sucked in, but with what Bryan said last week. We get the 11-inch chamber watch. Edge point up at the WrestleMania sign, and yeah, he does demolish him. But Bryan mentions how this may be his last WrestleMania, but he thought he could go into it on the back burner, but he just to throw all what he gave it all, his all. He got the main event, and then if this is his last one, a yes chant starts up. Bryan said that he says Edge his his shot at WrestleMania, but the main event. So is it for him or for Bryan? If he wants the main event WrestleMania, he has to go to Fastlane and he has to take the title from Reigns, and that is why he went into business for himself. It's that Reigns has already defeated Reigns. No matter what happens, a win is a win. But Edge recalls how dominant the Royal Rumble and says that Edge has mutual respect for Bryan and he likes him, but he doesn't like how he went about all this. Edge said that Bryan is better than this, and no matter how, Edge drops the mic and walks off as the music hits, starts back up, popping to the chair over at Bryan. Bryan looks on at Edge as Edge makes his exit, backing up the ramp while staring back at Bryan. Still to come, we got the Sasha Banks will be on the KO show, and also Big E will be back after Apollo Crews injured him 3 weeks ago. We got the Street Profits, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, and Otis, Chad Gable versus SmackDown Tag Team Champions Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. We got a 2 count from Roode. Then we see Roode turns it around on Dominic. But we seen Roode tags in. It tags in and then gets 619 with a big spine buster for 2 count. As we excuse me. As a Ford breaks it up, Ziggler super kicks forward. Dawkins with the silencer on Ziggler tosses Dawkins out to the floor with Ziggler. Dominic then pulls. Dominic is suckers in Roode, and Ray hits the 619, drops him from behind, and the 619 to Roode. Now Dominic leaks over to the floor to take out Gable. Ray flies onto the floor of Lotus. Ford nails the huge splash from the top rope onto Roode for the pin and the win to win. Winners the Street Profits, Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio win. After the match, the babyfaces stand tall. We get replays. We see Shane Helms now surprising Molly Holly with her 2021 WWE Hall of Fame induction announcement during the bump this past week. We got Jey Uso walking backstage. He goes to either Roman Reigns' locker room, and Paul Heyman is outside asking him where is he going. Heyman says that Jey talked to Reigns lately. Jey just wanted to talk to him about 2 days ago, but everything was fine. Heyman said, you know how stressful Fridays are, and indicates Reigns isn't happy with Jey for tapping out Daniel Bryan in the steel cage last week. Jey gets the point about business to help go handle. And what's up? Jey walks off and go to commercial. Get Cesaro. Rollins, leading up man, went on to the help and get ridiculous. Hey, so he's done with Cesaro. And the biggest waste of potential he's even seen up with his win over Murphy last week. There will be a rematch tonight. The surprise is Rollins that he likes the idea and walks. We see what happened with the tag team regional WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler taking Reginald to the old shopping trip. Jax tells him to watch Reginald try on different outfits and pose for photos. But Baszler, getting on, strolling her phone, and they go on, and Nia Jax just love into her eyes, while watching Reginald talk. Graves is curious to see how this develops. The announcers hype up Sasha Banks versus Bianca. We get Cesaro versus Murphy one-on-one. Cesaro delivers Cesaro swing. Now Rollins rushes into the ring and attacks Cesaro for the bell. Winner by DQ, and Cesaro picks up the victory. We see Sami Zayn backstage now WWE is trying to screw Sami Zayn out of documentary. Kevin Owens brushes it off and said that he's going to expose the truth. But everything doing numbers like Logan Paul, Owens said that he will think about and what we go to commercial. Welcome to Edge stops Jey Uso backstage. It brings up how we know that Jey Uso woke him up, but Edge points out that Jey is a part of the walking around his head down and wonders what Jey's dad thinks about him being a leaping dog to the big dog. Jey tells Edge to not talk about like he knows. Edge talks about the family, and Edge says that he needs to go home with his own family because at the WrestleMania he doesn't be able to enjoy anything. Uso walks off. Big Owens feels good about going backstage after being away for a few weeks. With the SmackDown, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Fastlane, Bianca Belair is out first. Fans chant EST as fans. Owens thinks about being here. Owens introduces her regarding the crew cards. Owens is like Banks Pyro. Belair Banks take their seats. And Owens thanks Banks for being here and thanks her for all the paychecks. Banks interrupts and says that he can't help the looking this good. Reginald likes her. Belair interrupts and doesn't like Banks' attitude. She believes that Reginald will be a problem for them at Fastlane. Banks rushes and says Jordan, one of the women's division, and says that one day maybe Belair will be like LeBron James. They're standing up now, going back and forth. They said that she were in it. Banks then says 2 belts, but Banks because it will be she wants Nia and Shayna. Belair glad to be on the eyes with a prize at Fastlane, but she's in her own lane. And the music interrupts, and out comes WWE Women's Tag Team Champions with Reginald. Women's said that she did not invite them. We get Tamina Snuka, Natalia, versus Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. We get Banks comes out to announce the table and confronts Reginald on top of the table. She chases him in the ring, and Natalia takes advantage and rushes Banks from being against the ropes, leveling her and singing her to the floor. While Belair and Tamina go at it, Belair directs Natalia, but Tamina takes from behind, rolls Belair up for the pin to win. Winners Tamina and Natalya picked up the victory. After the match, Snuka and Natalya stand tall in the ring as we go to replays. Belair yells at Banks at ringside, throwing her for crushing them to lose, for being distracted by Reginald. Belair just storms off to the he back. Jackson Baszler and Natalya, Reginald and Natalya Snuka stand tall in the ring together. As Reginald blows a kiss to Banks, laughs at her and Jax laughs. Banks heads up the ramp. Big Cole shows up as a cricket sponsor of replay how Apollo Crews attacked Big E with a steel chair. The steel steps a few weeks ago. Big E will return tonight. We got Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks arguing backstage over the loss. Reginald is involvement. Banks said that she's not taking the blame for the loss. It yells at Rookie in Belair's face and then walks off. Big E said that he's medically cleared. He's laid up in a medical facility because of Apollo Crews and the steel steps. He had a lot of time to think. He hopes that Crews knows what he did because Crews crossed the line and he opened the Pandora's box, and there's no coming back from that, and there's no story to fix this, but he can't help but put his genius back in the bottle. Apollo Crews made Big E go biblical, and so he says that he now has to go Old Testament of Apollo Crews because he says it's eye for an eye, and he takes to take one of mine, I'll take yours too, of yours. You come to the hurt me, and I came to the main event. Main you, Big E goes on and says beating Crews wouldn't be enough. He has got to end Crews now. Big E said that Crews wanted his good because he's already given Apollo exactly what he deserves. Big E takes some off his gear and said that he doesn't need to wait. They can go at it tonight. He calls Apollo to the ring to get what he has been waiting for, yelling at Crews to come out, but he doesn't appear. Big E isn't surprised. Big E tells them come get it. When the music hits, and out comes King Corbin. Corbin tells Big E to calm down because he's out there looking crazy. Corbin says he's not dressed to fight, but he has no matter tearing up $1,000 suit. Sami Zayn interrupts and accepts the challenge, calling him on his documentary. Crew keep filming. Corbin says that Zayn isn't winning the title back and will be perfect ending on the ramp. Biggie said that the first person to enter the ring after Corbin making his first, Biggie attacks Sammy and hits him with a belly suplex, sending Sammy back to the floor on his back. Corbin then stands over Sammy as Big E gets ready for a big fight in the ring. We'll go to commercial. WWE Intercontinental Champion, Intercontinental title match, Sami Zayn versus Big E. But back from break with the Intercontinental Champion, Big E, right on the WWE Women's Tag Team, hits the ring as Big E and Sammy lock up. Big E takes control, delivers a knee to the gut, and more strikes. Sammy fights out. Corner implies a headlock. By the way, back from break, we see both of them in the corner. Sammy unloads, brings Big E to the floor with a big sunset bomb. Big E then show somehow kicks out for 2, but can't believe it. Sammy takes some trash while Big E is dazed on his knees now. Sammy slaps Big E in the face and takes more trash. Sammy unloads with his slaps, now arguing with Big E. Then he runs the ropes. Big E runs right through a clothesline attempt and then ducks him, and then Big E scoops up Sammy with the big ending in the middle of the ring for the pin to win, to retain. Big E defeats Sami Zayn, and after the match, Big E stands tall and celebrates Apollo Crews' hits, and Big E looks around getting ready to fight. Crews hits some ring attacks from Big E from behind. Crews unloads with a big angle slam. Crews yells at Big E to stand up as fans boo. Crews with another big slam in the middle of the ring, and Crews stands over Big E, talks him down. At the boos get louder, Crews goes to the ring side and grabs a half of the steel chair ring steps, tosses it back up. Big E slowly to get up, but Crews rams him in the arm with the steps, knocking him out of the ring to the floor. Right in front of the announce table, Big E rolls in pain as Crews stands on top of the steps in the middle of the ring as Crews' music hits. It starts back up as the boos continue. We got Kayla approaches Nia Jax, the original, backstage for being rude to interrupting Jax last at what happened to Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. The tag team titles at Fastlane. Reginald suggests Jax challenging Banks for her Smackdown Women's title next week, so she can go into the Fastlane with 2 titles. Jax says that's a great idea. Jax tells Kayla to beat it so she can get back to talking to Reginald. We get tonight's main event segment, WWE Fastlane contract signing. Paul Heyman, Reigns stops on the ramp and gets a pyro before heading to the. We're back from break. We see the announcers plug WrestleMania 37 tickets go on sale this Tuesday, announced for next Friday. It's Sasha Banks defending the Smackdown Women's title against WWE Women's Tag Team Champion Nia Jax. Daniel Bryan leading the Yes chant in the corner as Reigns and crew look on. Adam Pearce is at the table with the Fastlane contract. We see Pearce says that there is no future business. It's time to sign the contract. Fans chant yes. Yes. As Peter's bullying him into the move, Reigns chant in the head to the table. Reigns boos. Reigns goes on to sign the contract, but tells Bryan that he really doesn't want Nabal to go on to sign the contract, but doesn't want this week not signing the title because Bryan doesn't deserve it. Bryan said that he's excited about this, so he's going to sign. Bryan puts pen to paper. Bryan said who he thought Reigns was a man of his word, but Bryan goes on about Reigns is afraid of him. Bryan said, make Jey Uso quit. Bryan talks Reigns should have been one head of the table. This a pen to paper settle it, sign it, telling Bryan that he's going to smash him. Reigns signs the contract. Uso takes the contract and shoves it into Pierce's chest. Bryan has a message for Reigns. Now he signed. Bryan's going to tap him out, just like he tapped out Uso. Uso flips the table over and gets in Bryan's face about disrespecting him. Finally, seeing Bryan is also in the Fastlane special at a Forcer to make sure everything is fair and square. The music hits. Now it comes WWE Hall of Famer Edge to a pop. Edge said that sounds good, but even better about how he and Uso do battle next week. And the winner will be a special enforcer at Fastlane. Pierce agrees and makes the match official for next Friday. Edge hits the ring as he and Bryan attack Reigns and Uso. A big brawl breaks out. Bryan tosses Jey to the floor, but Edge, he and Edge go for Reigns. Bryan gets tossed to the outside. Edge turns right around in the ring to Bryan, dropping him with a flying knee. Reigns looks on from the floor as Bryan stands tall in the ring. Edge is down as we go to replays. Reigns holds his jaw at ringside, clutching the title and looking up at the ring as Bryan chants yes from the turnbuckle. SmackDown goes off the air, and that's your official SmackDown review for this week. And that's pretty much it. That is the review. So I hope you like it. Hit thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel right here at Daniel Parker official YouTube channel.